part of the reason why I think there's a bunch of videos, or why it's taking so long, is because they're just monopolizing me, because they know that I'm like a one thing at a time kind of person. So basically, like, because I'm one thing at a time, and I don't like to just like stop what I'm doing and move on to something else if it's not working, then they'll essentially like hold me down in a location, you know what I mean? So like, if I'm basically like, if you want to bog me down, right, or if you want to hold me in a location, just fuck up what I'm doing. It's really simple, and they already know that. They're like, yeah, like, we can totally, like, if we want them to stay in Union Station longer, you know, today or whatever, just like pause his fucking video loading, you know, pause his fucking video basically uploading onto YouTube, because that's his routine, you know. So I'm like, literally, I'm here, like, I've loaded I don't know how many videos up to YouTube or whatever, and like, I'm like, every time it's just like, it takes like no time at all. And then today, like, I was thinking of going to get food earlier, and then like, I'm literally like sitting here getting hungry, and then I'm like, oh, you know, my video's taking forever to load. And why is it taking forever to load? Like, I'm not sure. In my opinion, it's basically like they just want me to hold it down here for longer, because there's probably a fucking parade going by of, like, you know, clones, and they don't want me to see the clones, basically. So they're like, yeah, we got to keep the clones separated or something, or the glitches separated, so that, like, because if they run into each other, stuff will get extra glitchy, and then, like, we don't want that, because then they would, like, without a doubt believe that, like, you know, reality's like totally fucked and that they're slaves. We don't want them to believe that. So like, we got to get them to like hold it down in this location for longer, because there's too many of the fucking glitches out there at the moment, like in this time loop, and that would cause like a massive disturbance. I was like sitting here, my fucking phone is taking forever to basically like save a video that I made. Granted, it's like a 50 set, it's almost an hour long video that I'm trying to save, and then after I've saved it, so it's like a collage form right now of just like a bunch of videos, and then like when it all gets like grouped together into one, and when you group it all together into one, it's been loading for the last like 2 hours now. It's almost like, technically it loaded almost as long as my phone took to charge from like 50%, which is pretty long. And then the thing is, though, it went to like 97, and my phone was at like 80%, you know, thereabouts. And then I'm like, wow. So it's actually like, a video shouldn't take that long to load, like with regards to just like taking a bunch of separate videos and then just like putting them all into one. And I don't get interested in like, oh yeah, like, it's like, yeah, I'm trying to basically just look at. Yeah, like, and nothing is actually stupid. Nothing is actually like I said, like, all the words that are coming out of my mouth are just like noises. They don't actually mean anything. You know what I mean? The universe is that fucking big that I'm sure that, like, you know, if we were to intercept like some, like, the communication, like, we're looking for basically we're looking for sounds like in the universe right now that are based off of terrestrial influences, you know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot of stuff that we're looking for like in outer space that, like, we don't, like, we're looking for stuff that we're looking for stuff that we can perceive on planet Earth out in outer space. Basically, we're looking for the same thing. You know what I mean? We're basically looking for another Earth, you know, like in outer space at the moment, like at all times, and we're looking for signs of life. The way we define life is like how we currently live, you know. And I'm going like, are you guys happy with the way we live? You know, I'm like, okay, like, if you're happy with the way we live, like why is there a bunch of stuff, like, why is there a bunch of stuff where people are not having a good time, right? If they're not having a good time, like, focus on them, right? And if they're saying like they're never gonna have a good time, just eliminate them from the fucking gene pool, you know? I'm never gonna have a good time. And it's just like, yeah, I'm not gonna, like, it doesn't matter. It's not a question of money. You can put $1 billion in my bank account. I'd probably just donate it to the fucking assisted dying department, right? and then be in the emergency department, the same thing, you know. I'm like really concerned for pretty much just like everybody, because I'm like, wow, you actually like are not taking me seriously. If you're not taking me seriously at this point, like there's a monopoly on the information that I'm putting out, right? And everybody around me is just a sheep with like literally TNT, and I'm just like accidentally like putting fucking TNT on sheep. Just like all my existence now is just like putting fucking TNT on sheep. And yeah, I'm systematically trying to defeat. Like, I'm not actually trying to do that. It's just what's happening. You know what I mean? And if that's what's happening, then I'll set the intention that, like, you know, if your intention is to just blow up a bunch of sheep, then, like, you know, I hope it's a situation where if somebody has an agenda for me that's covert, that it just, like, it's whatever they don't want at all times, so that they basically empathize with me. But before they empathize with me, they give me what I want. That's my, like, I was like, you know what? Like, I can't compromise. That's my condition. If you're using me covertly for your own agenda, I choose that I'm going to use you for my open agenda, which is to get assisted dying as fast as possible for myself. And then after I have achieved assisted suicide, it can go back to whatever you want. You know what I mean? You know, like, and that's it. You know what I mean? That's how you approach it. So, like, covert agendas, secret agendas, or whatever, like, you just, obviously, like, if their intention is to be secret, I go like, well, that's a piece of shit move. And, like, what a fucking weak scheme with regards to just, like, you know, monopolizing information. That's actually one of the weakest things you can do, is basically be covert, you know. And yeah, it means that they're actually, like, super vulnerable if they're being covert and they're not being honest. And you know what? They need help to be honest, right? They need help to be honest. So I'm like, okay, here's your help, you know. Like, I'm gonna be completely honest. If you have basically like a covert agenda for me, right? And you're gonna use me without, like, talking to me right now, you know, or like in the near future. And I already know you've used me in the past, so I'm like, you know what? Like, you have like an obscene amount of interest. Like, if you're in debt, you're in debt for using me covertly, and then there's interest on that, and like, I know I'm alright by karma and whatever fucking stupid, not stupid, but like, you know, just like terrestrial ideas that have been, or extraterrestrial ideas that have been introduced to the terrestrial ecosystem artificially to just prop it up artificially, right? So like, if we're introducing ideas like karma or heaven and hell or whatever, like, that's totally fine. Like, I know I'm totally fine by all those standards, because like, yeah, I just gotta walk them through it, you know, like, basically, like, yeah, like, I think it's, I don't know what I'm gonna be able to tell you. I don't know what I'm gonna be able to, like, I don't know what's gonna basically flick the switches in your mind, but I know you will flick those switches for me, basically. You know, because, like, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job, right? If I know, like, I already know I'm not an expert in your life. I'm not an expert in your life. And I would rather, like, everybody else be the experts in their life, right? Because, like, why, like, that doesn't make any sense. Everybody's, like, super specific, and, like, everybody's, like, their own universe, right? So, like, why would I fucking tell anybody to do, like, why would I try to manage anybody? You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm not, you know, like, I'm literally just gonna I'm gonna be honest, right? Because everybody appreciates honesty, you know? It takes guts to be. It takes guts to pull your guts out and be like, here's my guts, right? And then like, you know, some people are actually so fucking scared they'll just stab your guts anyways. I've had that happen like multiple times. You literally are like, I'm like, okay, like I'm fucking terrified, but you know what? Like I got to be honest here, and like by the way, like here's my guts, you know. And then they go like, ew, right? And then you're like, oh, like you have no idea like how much that fucking hurt to show you, and then like how much it hurt when you just fucking smash my guts, right? And I'm like, you know what? Like, that's okay, because at this point, like, yeah, like, I just, you know what? Like, I just did someone else a gigantic fucking favor in the future. That's one less person who has to show you their guts, right? At this point, my only interest in getting smarter is to basically be able to represent myself so that I can get assisted dying and suicide. There's no incentive for me to get any smarter than I already am, apart from basically maneuvering psychologically so that I can get assisted dying. That's like my only motivation for anything. As soon as I wake up, I'm like, how can I get myself some assisted dying? Just at all times. I'm like, how do I do this? How do I do this? And it's like a calculation that no one should be forced to make, basically. No one should be forced to basically wake up in the morning and then have an incentive to die at all times and then be systematically denied it. Because basically it's not my fault. I don't accept responsibility for feeling this way. You know, because like I have to deal with the consequences of it continuously getting worse. So I'm like, you know what? Like in everybody's best interest, like it's not getting better for me, right? So like the best thing to do is to just get it over with, like rip it off like a band-aid. The problem is there's an autonomous function. Like I'm just literally a plant. I feel like I'm a plant in a garden, and I'm just like having pieces just like, you know, cut off me, you know, and you go, oh, I like this, and they go like, okay, I like this, and then it's just like, I like his eyeball, and then they just go, you know, because he'll just grow another one, you know, and I'm not, you know, and I'm like, hey, I'm missing this, and I'm missing this, you know, and everybody's like, no, you're not. Well, I can't tell, because everybody else is a fucking plant, you know, and I'm like, hey, is anything else going missing from you guys? And they're like, no, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. I'm like, okay. So I'm not really sure, you know, like, but I'm pretty sure, like, you know, like, if you were me, you'd probably not want to be me, you know, like, and if you do want to be me, then, like, I don't want to be you, and I wouldn't want you to be me, so, like, you know, like, why is it so hard to basically get assisted suicide? It doesn't make any sense. Like, you're just gonna be a broken fucking record, like, you know. And the other thing, I just made a fucking video, like with basically like my hand going like this, and then somebody is basically gonna CGI their own agenda into it. CGI their own agenda into it, right? And if I'm the one being vulnerable, so I'm the one taking a position first, they'll be like, oh, well, he took a position first, so like all I have to do is like, you know, or all we can do is basically just like react after he takes a position. The problem is, like, I'm being forced into taking positions. So like if you're basically like using or manipulating any of my content that I put out, right? Because I'm forced to take a position and you're not, like, you're a little, like, you guys are fucking assholes. And realistically, that's happening to me all the time, you know? Like, I get put in that position, and then, like, literally all I'm talking to, like, when I communicate with some people, it's basically information that I created, right? But then was manipulated by basically like this force here in the background, where you, like, And then I'm going like, okay, so you don't want to take me for my word right now, right? That there's basically like CGI'd shit all around me at all times, basically manipulating my data for their own agenda, right? They're taking my data and my information for their own agenda. You know? And that's just common knowledge at this point. If you have a phone, that's just common knowledge. So like, if you don't think your phone is tracking you wherever you go, like how long you spend at certain locations, like what you say, what you do, like, you know what I mean, and not actually pay you, then like, you know, it's like, I don't know. So it's like, why do we have it? You know what I mean? Why do we have our phones if it's doing that? And it's like, well, because the system's engineered so that we're dependent on it, right? We don't actually have a choice. We're dependent on basically the thing, like we're so ingrained into the system that we're a part of the system. Because we're a part of the system, we're completely dependent on the system. You know? So it's like, yeah, it's like a really screwball situation. It's just like fucking, that miming action works great. So it's basically, it looks like this. Like at all times, this is what's going on. It's like a secret, basically, like, then you're like, huh. You know, and then you're going like, okay, and then it came over here. Somewhere over here. So you don't actually know where it came from. And then it just came from, like, you didn't see it. You basically didn't see it go like, and then you're like, who did that? It was you. You know, it's basically like, and then they're going like, hi. You know, it's that thing all over again.